Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Real Hood Shit. This is going to be episode 7, and I'm going to be talking about the hardest thing that I have had to accomplish. And it was not finishing high school or getting a degree or anything like that. It definitely wasn't becoming a mom and not being prepared. So I bet you're probably wondering, well, what was the hardest thing you had to accomplish? Um, I had to learn how to let stuff go. Like, really let stuff go. And truly understand that letting something go means just that, letting it go. I had to get clear on what letting things go means to me and how it looks for me, because I'm a person that will say, I let that go. I'm not worried about that, but I never really did. For a long time, I struggled with letting things go. And I think that I had such a hard time letting go because growing up, I was always feeling like I didn't have enough. So anything that I would get, I was holding on to it for dear life, not understanding that it was making the things that I wanted to have run away from me. Being in a constant state of wanting doesn't give you the room to receive anything. If I was trying to receive something, my hands were always full. I had a very different upbringing, I'll say, and I dealt with a lot of different things growing up. Most of those things I internalized them because I felt like I never had anyone to talk to about those things, or someone who would understand or even care about what I had going on. For a long time, I was told that I was too much and I was too sensitive and I needed to grow a thicker skin and stuff just shouldn't bother me as much as it does. Something's got to be wrong with me. So I internalized that because that's what I was being fed at home. And I became self-sabotaging, I guess. I wasn't really self-assured because everything that I knew that made me who I was too much for my family. And if my family doesn't accept me, like, is anybody else really gonna accept me? Um, I began to withdraw from a lot of people, a lot of situations, and I really wasn't talking to anybody about what I had going on or what I was going through because I didn't know how to express myself. Nobody had ever really sat down and had a hard conversation with me or talked to me about things that I did that made them uncomfortable or allowed me to talk to them about the things that they did that made me uncomfortable. But I said all of those things to say I was holding on to anything and everything that I could get. And I wasn't understanding that just because something or someone provides some sort of temporary enjoyment, it doesn't mean that that's supposed to be something that's long term. I found myself in so many different situations and in weird ass relationships and friendships where I wasn't being the I wasn't being treated the way that I wanted to be treated, and I wasn't being valued, and I didn't even know what to do about it. So I just stayed. Even though I knew that I probably needed to leave these situations and relationships. They weren't just romantic relationships, they was friendships, friends with benefits, um, just dealing with different family members. All of those relationships were coming into question because I didn't understand that it was okay to let those people go in those situations and those friends go. I didn't understand that I was showing them that it was okay to mistreat me because I was mistreating myself. I soon came to learn that I would have to learn to let things go in order to make room for the better things that I wanted to have in my life. And because of the lack of communication that I had growing up, it was really hard for me to accept any kind of responsibility for anything in relations to how I was relating to other people because I was perpetually victimizing myself and playing the victim. And there came a point in my life where I just decided that I was going to let go of my fear of being misunderstood, my fear of being betrayed, my fear of being abandoned, my fear of being not liked, my fear of losing everything. I had to let all of that go in order to live the life that I am proud to say that I'm living right now. For a long time, I'm just thinking. So, excuse me, y'all, because I'm just thinking about all of the situations and all of the relationships that I had been in with these people, and I was so desperate. And I had such a sickening distrust of myself that I was just letting anybody do anything. I know I didn't respect myself. I know I didn't. I could not have been respecting myself. To be all the way 1,000, and it might hurt some people's feelings. Between 2005 and 2017, I made some of the worst decisions of my life. So that was me like a freshman in high school up until hell, a couple of years after I dropped out of college. I just made some really fucked up decisions, and it left me in a way more fucked up situation. I stayed in a relationship that I was not happy in, and I knew that I didn't want to be in. And I ended up pregnant too. And I knew that this person was not someone who would act in the best interest of me or my child. I'm not saying that I regret any of those decisions that I made because I wouldn't even be the person that I am today if I hadn't made those decisions. But I got to be straight up and honest, 2010 to 2015, I was in a fucked up place. I was making fucked up decisions, and I didn't really realize how those decisions were going to change my life. And they really changed my life. I'd do it all over again if I had to, because the things that I learned, I won't be I I wouldn't know half the things that I know now. I wouldn't understand so many other things. 2017 was the year that I really started to take my life serious. I had graduated from high school in 2009. I had went to college. I dropped out of college because the person that I was dating at the time felt like school was a waste of time and I needed to go to work. And I was afraid of not being liked by this person. So, I was trying to be liked, being a fucking dummy. I ended up getting more trades, and nothing ever really stuck for me. The jobs I was working, it just didn't work out. And I spent a whole lot of time holding on to my past because I didn't really want to face that I was sitting here making these fucked up decisions and my life was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And there was really nobody that I could say made me do it, because I made the decision to be in a relationship with this person. I made the decision to not leave this relationship after this person showed me time and time and time and time again that they just wasn't worth the time, the effort, none of it. I was so depressed and I wasn't able to see my way out of it. And I came to the realization that I wasn't, I was almost refusing to let my past die so that my future could thrive. And I was ready. I was ready for anything. I was ready for anything at that point. I made a promise to myself that I would do whatever I had to do in order to not keep living my life like this, not keep being miserable every day. I started making small changes. And the first small change that I made was I cut out TV, Netflix. So instead of watching a Netflix series for 30 minutes, I would spend that time meditating. I started at 5 minutes. I bumped it up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And once I saw that I was able to be consistent with the meditation, I said, okay, I'm going to start changing the food that I eat. Because I only knew about soul food and Asian food. I love Asian food. But that's another topic for another day. So, I was just eating a whole lot of soul food, but I wasn't liking the way that it was making me feel. So I started to cut back on my soda. I started to cut back on my meat. I started to cut back on starch and pasta. And as I started eliminating these things, before I knew it, I was a vegetarian. And it blew my mind how much better I felt as a vegetarian. It blew my mind how clear I was able to think, how fast I was able to move, and how I could really change And all I had to do was do one small thing, one thing different every day. And that kind of created a domino effect. And then I started working out. When I finally got the meditation down and I finally got my diet down, I started exercising. And when I started exercising, I was walking on the treadmill for 15 minutes and I was doing yoga for 30 minutes every day, 7 days a week, no matter what. I lost 50 pounds in about 3 months. And I was like, so you mean to tell me that you had all of this inside of you this whole time and you were afraid to show it because you thought that these people aren't going to accept you? Girl, you got life messed up. The more that I got in tune with who I was and who I wanted to be, the more that I let go of those voices that told me I wasn't good enough. I was too emotional. I was too all over the place. I was too expressive. I kept my distance from those people. And I moved closer to the people who wanted what I had to offer. Totally changed my life. It totally changed my life. And it helped me to understand that you're able to become the most authentic version of yourself when you have the confidence to let things go and start over. When you start over, you give yourself the permission to make mistakes. You reassure yourself that those mistakes are okay and they are a part of the process. And once you understand that your discomfort is part of the process, it helps you to become more comfortable in being who you are, and you'll be able to be the more authentic version of yourself. I just want to encourage you. Whatever you feel like is holding you back, whatever you feel like it's in the way of you getting to be the best version of yourself that you can be, let that go. I encourage you to let those things go and see how your life changes when you can say, this thing has ran its course. It doesn't feel good for me anymore, so it's time for me to move on. You just need to start small. If you want to lose weight, you're going to have to let go of some of your time. If you want to clear your mind, you're going to have to let go of some of those memories that just hurt so bad. If you want to move to another place, you got to let go of all those connections that you've made in the previous place so that you can make room for the connections that are going to elevate you in your next season. Start small. I always tell you guys to start small. Start small. I appreciate all of you for taking the time out to come and have this conversation with me. I hope that I'll see you in these future episodes. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, it's okay to let things go. Because when your hands are open, when you let go, you have a lot more room to receive. Until next Friday. Bye, y'all.